Make sure you earn enough money that your daughter knows she's empowered to say no. We can lie to each other and tell each other that regardless of where you go in this world, a woman saying no will be respected. But we know that's not true. Guys, karibuni sana. It's the crib sheet. Once again, back like I never left. My name is Chim.
Sheila.
Hey,
And today we are joined by...
hey everybody, my name is Joe Ngatia, aka the Joe Ngatia. And it's my first time on the crib sheet. And I'm a big fan of this panel here and also the discussions that we have every other day.
Nice. Big fun, big energy. Nice. Hi. Actually, we were just talking behind the scenes. I thought I recognized your... It's called digital footprint, huh? Yeah, but I was wrong. Anyway, Sheila, this is the point at which now you step in and you take it away.
Okay. Sawa. So today we'd like to have a discussion about raising girls. Chim is co-parenting, raising a girl. The John Ngatia is raising 2 girls, right? And then yours truly, I have a girl, a very beautiful girl. So we'd just like to have discussions about raising the girls. What do we want them to aspire growing up? What are the challenges about raising the girls? And also maybe just to hear from someone who has a partner, someone who's co-parenting, and from a single parent point of view, how it is and what's that journey like. So I think I'd want to start off with Chim, because today's discussion, you know so much about Chim and I, so we'd love to focus much more on Joe, because he's been doing it for quite some time as well. Right? So maybe the age of your daughter.
Shanice, how old are you? I don't know. Anyway, she's turning 8. She is a literal copy of me, which means she is a headache. She is very energetic. My daughter is... I pray to God. My mother used to tell me something. My mom used to tell me, you will get who you are, just not of your gender. Please don't be me. I love you. Please don't be me. Beautiful girl, very energetic. Don't be me. For the love of God, please. Please don't be me. Yeah, that's my daughter.
Okay. So maybe back to you, Joe. How has it been raising girls?
So I think everything is very unique in terms of how it comes to you in life. Like we say, it's a day at a time, or that is a mantra that I've lived by, and that actually unfolds even when you're raising girls, especially as a man, in different ways. One being managing expectations from the society. Who are you supposed to be as a father? What are you supposed to do as a father? Number 2 is managing the girls' expectations. Who do they look up to? What person are they seeing in this man who they call daddy? Or who they, like we always say, they fell in love first with when they came to actually now start realizing that we are different. This is someone who's completely different, looks like mommy, and this is daddy. How should I address? How should I respond? How should I be able to interact and have daily conversations as they grow up and also as we bring them up? Yeah. So for me, it's very unique. Depends with the different children, depends on their different personalities, because what being a parent teaches you is that every person is actually very different. You might bring them up in the same house, all the resources are the same, but how they turn out to be is very unique. Yeah.
Okay. Chim?
I actually agree. I'm waiting to hear about your daughter.
I think today we're focusing much more on the men raising girls, but I think my daughter is she's not like me, but she has most of my how she looks, probably how she behaves. You look at her, at times I look at her and I'm thinking, I know you're going to do what you've just done because it's something I probably did when I was very young. So when it comes to even disciplining her, I'm thinking, okay, would I have wanted my mom to discipline me? Or, as in, why are you punishing her when it's something you've done? But she's very outspoken, and she's very brave. Being raised amongst the boys, I find her very brave because she can actually stand up for herself. Even when the neighbors' kids come over and they would actually attack the brother, she would actually stand up for him. So I think for me, raising girls is not the fact or that I'm a mom. Raising the girl child is not a big challenge. But I'd say for the men, it can be a challenge because you've grown up knowing yourself, you're a man. But now you have to raise a child of the opposite sex. And most times, I'm sure you would ask the mom to be the one to do a few things for her. But what if today, and Joe, you have a partner, what if today the partner is not there? So that's the angle I want to take with Chim, because at times he has the child with him going out with the girl. She needs to use the washroom. How is it like? Also disciplining the girl child, because I'm just thinking the girl is always the dad's favorite. Because I think growing up, I used to look up, my dad was everything. He was the Superman. And then at one point, he was no longer there. And then now I had to take care of myself. I had to protect myself. But now that you are in the lives of your daughters, how is it like? So that's what I'd want us to unpack. So looking at the discipline of the girl child, having two daughters, how is it? I'm sure you don't love one as in more than the other, but how is it like? Also, you disciplining your daughter and you have your son there.
So in my case, when it comes to discipline, I'll start with what you left off at. Disciplining Shanyisa is usually very, very difficult because her brother, who is autistic, does not fully understand what discipline means. So when I discipline her and she starts crying, I then have to deal with her brother stepping in to protect her, right? Outside of that, normally she is her brother's protector. I like what you said about how your daughter is usually, on the fast stop at protecting her brother, defending her brother. It was the same in my case. My daughter is my daughter, very, very vocal, very, very, my daughter is very, very mouthy. She talks a lot. She takes that after me. And she's very good at defending her brother. Like really good. And explaining, like defending him has stepped into a role of explaining what it is he's trying to communicate. My son is nonverbal. So there are certain things that he doesn't like or doesn't do. And if you're to try and give him, for example, food, there are certain foods where the texture he can't deal with. She's the one who will tell you, yo, Kadari doesn't eat that. Or Kadari is trying to communicate this. And normally now what I do is I'll give him my phone and be like, yo, write to me what you want. Mm-hmm. And he'll write, he's intelligent. He's autistic, but he's very intelligent. So he'll be able to articulate what he wants at that point. She steps into that role where she attempts to translate what it is that's going on. And Shanisa, thank you so much for that. You'll see this when you're older. Thank you so much for that, mommy. Outside of that, she is... I don't know how I can explain this more than to say she is my daughter. She is who I am, just in a smaller, feminine bottle. Mm-hmm. She is explosive. She is very loud and very self-driven, very good at telling you what she likes, telling you what she doesn't like, telling you what she wants, what she doesn't want, and that is me to a T. So it's very eye-opening realizing what my mom used to tell me. I keep going back to this because for me it was almost like a prophecy. You will get who you are. I have gotten who I am. Yeah. Is there much more I can add to that? Like I've gotten who I am. Yeah.
Okay. Joe, with regards to disciplining the child.
In the absence of the mother, I think,
And also in her presence.
I think I would go back to what I said in regards to one of the biggest challenges raising daughters right now in our age and era is managing society's expectations. By that, what I mean is right now people are enlightened in terms of their rights, in terms of what you can do and what lens you can actually go to. But at the end of the day, you need someone to actually understand that what you're doing as my daughter is for the good at the end of it. I will be firm, but that does not mean I will be unfair to you. So we currently have a generation of children who are not disciplined like the way I've heard you and Chim mentioning how it used to be in our times or our parents. Right now we have guys who even I think in terms of research and scientifically, we've not still been able to crack how they work, how they act, how they think, and that's what you're calling now the Gen Z, which now translates to our children what they're calling the Gen Alpha. So in terms of their ways of thinking and in terms of what is at their disposal about information, about how to identify themselves, that's a challenge. About how much you can discipline them, because I think we've become, or rather our culture and not just culture, but the right way to do things is being eroded by westernization, if I can call it that. It's being eroded by information in a way. And what information does is that it gives one side of the story. It tells you that you have rights to either talk back to your parent because you're now a teenager, and not to go home, not to do your work. So those are some of the challenges that you're facing in terms of disciplining these kids, in terms of finding a balance between what is right and what is expected of me, especially in the kind of environment that you're living in. But at the end of the day, as time goes, because we always say time vindicates and clarifies any doubt in whatever situation it is, you will find that how we used to do it or how it was done then is what actually still makes sense here and right now. So I think that for me would be the challenge in terms of how do you balance the new kind of thinking, the new kind of lifestyle, the new kind of generation that you're facing vis-a-vis the expectations in terms of what is expected outcome. What is that picture of success when this child, like Jim mentioned, has grown up? You'd want them to be independent. You'd want them to be resourceful. You'd want them to be articulate in terms of the decisions that they make about their lives. Like what you're saying about protecting and getting to know that my rights or what it is I'm supposed to do starts here, but ends the moment now I step over someone else's. So those are some of the challenges that you're facing in terms of disciplining and bringing up girls.
Yo, let me ask you, with regards to what you mentioned about disciplining, where do you stand on corporate? It's called corporal punishment.
So for ourselves as fathers, it's very hard. Personally, I don't. I might seem like
spunk?
No, and not just for the girls, even for the boy. It's I think by the time it reaches there, because for the girl, I would want the mother to be the first point of escalation or the first point of reference in terms of, is what I'm doing correct? And then, so for the girls, you play more as a man, as a good cop. And rightfully so, because if things escalate to where you are, then you know that it's serious. And they shouldn't actually get there.
Okay, so what happens when it's escalated to you. Because the truth is, their mothers will always be the first line of, I look at it as the first line of defense, right? So the mom will be the first line of defense. Once we have crossed that boundary, then what? When the mom says, Ndambia daddy, or I'll tell pops, and papa comes and then she tells papa, then what happens?
Now, that's where now your role as the father or as the man of the house needs to clearly come out. And why I want to actually put these two on a weighing scale in terms of masculinity and the mother to the children or the feminine side is that women, and that's a fact, will always reason through emotion. So in terms of how they also get resolutions to things, that the first go-to is usually an emotional angle. So by the time it escalates, like you've asked to the dad, then I am expected to actually logically think it out and see, does it make sense? If it doesn't, is it going to hurt you? Over and above that, if it's going to hurt you, is it going to hurt everyone else and maybe the stability or whatever it is that you set out to do? Then I'm supposed to give a solution from a logical point of view. If you did wrong, then you need to own up. If you own up, then there are repercussions to it. So that is now how you start instilling discipline. Instilling discipline, for me, even when I was a little boy, if anyone dropped a plate, then you'd actually say, yes, you did it. It is better to actually own up than refuse. And then when you found out, because now that would mean a beating. So that is how you start instilling discipline. So if the kid knows that when daddy comes, he'll actually look at it from a very objective point of view, then if there is punishment to be meted out, then I deserve it. If there is recourse or there is something else to actually attend to because of my actions, then that is something that someone has actually thought about it. And it's not based on emotions. So for us, I would urge maybe even the men watching this, like yourself, in terms of bringing up girls, let us take into consideration a lot more in terms of logical solution providing or provision as opposed to emotional. Because what the mothers are meant to do, and that is their nature, is to give solutions from an emotional point of view. For the man, it's supposed to be from a logical point of view. So you stay up late, if you get arrested, then I will come into play because you'll need my money. But for mommy, what she'll think is maybe she'll pray for you, she'll feel bad.
Even how are you feeling? How
exactly.
did you get arrested? How that make you feel?
Exactly. So that makes a very clear-cut differentiation between the role of the father and the role of the mother in a girl's life, and also in terms of the discipline process.
You know, the reason I was asking is because ultimately,
Yeah.
So I happen to get my kids like on the weekends, and there are times when I'll have the kids and they misbehave. I can't wait. I'm not going to report my children to their mother.
Yes.
You get it, especially my daughter. Like, I can't wait and tell the mother of my kids, like, yo, she's done this and this. How do you think I should proceed? That's the genesis of that question.
Okay.
Where it's like, have you been out with your daughters, your children, and your daughters misbehave? If so, how do you handle that? Because me, I'm old school, bro. Me, I'm Old Testament. Me, I spunk. Me, I spunk. I spunk my son. I spunk my daughter. And I'll hug them and I'll explain to them, this is why. And they'll get upset and they'll run to my wife and be like, this guy. And once I've explained to you why, when you calm down and we talk about it, either on the way home or once, if we have enough time and you calm down and you come back to the table where we are seated, you're getting, I find that it helps us move along and helps us understand each other. So you understand the parameters of what good behavior are.
Okay.
Also, what is expected of you when you're around Papa. Yeah? Yeah.
So you don't spank them all the time, right?
What do you mean all the time?
As in...
It's not like when they misbehave all the time I'm spanking. No. I have I don't know if I'll call that 3 warning system. I'll tell you twice.
Okay.
If you do not change in the first few times, I'll spank you. I don't do the whole bending over my knee and paddling the bottom. I hit the fingers or the back of the hand. Yeah, I'll flick them. That's always been my thing, and I find it gives me results. Yeah, my children, my daughter especially knows there are certain things she can't do. She can't talk back to me the way maybe she'd engage her mom. She can't talk to her mom when I'm there. You get? She can't talk to my wife when I'm there, like back and forth. You can't talk back to them. You don't do that with me. Why are you doing that with them? Right? I'll tell you once, twice. The second time, I'll flick your wrist, and guess who's going to comfort you? Them, and they will bring you back to me. For me, ultimately, now to explain why you had to be disciplined.
Yeah.
That's
I
my system.
I would agree partially to what it is you're saying, because I think from experience, like I said when I was beginning, it varies from an individual to an individual. And to be very honest, in terms of how the children relate to you as a father in a family setup, rubs off over time. So they are able to see, how does mom treat dad when it comes in? How are we supposed to behave? So it's very easy, even when we are out there, for them to know there is some things I can do when I'm with daddy. I'll ask for a treat because I have a soft spot for him, or he has a soft spot for me.
Yeah.
But in terms of in discipline, because they already know this guy, when he sets his laptop on the dining table and he says it's work, even mommy respects his time. So children are very observant to what it is that we do rather than what they hear. So they'll start picking up those cues as early as when they're able to start walking and
like
crawling.
that,
So the girls will see, okay, this guy is not mommy who I can run around. So he's actually there when I need him. He'll actually discipline me when it's beyond mommy. But we are not, and I think it's something that we should actually bring back or inculcate in terms of how we relate with the daughters, in terms of how far should you go?
Even boundaries.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How far should you go being that playful or doing so? Because if you're always playing with me, or if you know that daddy is going to provide, he's going to protect me and all that, then there are limits. So when you go out there, it's very respectful, it's very structured, and you'll not find those kind of situations. The reason why I also brought out that it also matters in terms of age is, at some point, and you will bear me witness, when the girl is, let's say, a teenager, you cannot spank them. You cannot beat them, because now that might now come off as being too intrusive in terms of their privacy. So then you will need to refer them either to their mother or a mother figure. Because some of the things, and remember what you said, is driven a lot by emotions, is driven a lot by hormones. So maybe she's turned 13, just for example, she's turned a certain age, and the hormones are raging. You might not understand what she's going through. And that is where you find now she doesn't want to go to school. You'll step in as a father because I provide school fees for you. So you need to listen to what it is that I say. But in terms of that physical contact, it actually now gradually ebbs away until now later, when they discover themselves and then they find, this guy was right. So I would put it a day at a time, like I always say, like I said, in terms of my mantra. When they're younger, they learn from actions. They learn from how you guys relate in the house. They'll not even hear what you say, but they'll see how you relate. They'll see, so this guy, when we are out there, mommy will actually address him like this and that. Mommy will not give him that look that she gives me if I spill water on the table knowingly, or I do tea. And then as they grow, they start understanding, okay, so this guy can actually run to him for solutions. I need XYZ to be done. So it's a process, and it's very unique. But once you're able to set or draw the lines from the beginning, then it's very easy to follow.
I'd argue, I like what you said, I'd argue that once they hit teenage is the point at which now you'll say, you know what, I will use your mother as the first stopgap measure.
Yeah.
Yeah? only if your mother feels she has exhausted every avenue of dealing with you is when now I will step in. I grew up in a household where me I was spanked until I was like 18. Like I was taught how to behave until I was 18. And my mother's logic was, I need to prepare you for the world. As much as I love you, loving you means I must prepare you for the world. And the truth is, like you've said, as a teenager, there are times where you're not trying to hear logic. You're really not. One of the things I've spoken with the mother of my kids is, as the kids get older, she's the first stopgap measure. If they don't listen to her 3 times, then it'll be tossed to me. And even then, from my interaction with the kids right now, what I've seen is, we'll figure it out. Because, whenever she does that, on the few occasions she's had to do that so far, I don't really have to do, I don't even have to raise my voice. Like, I walk in to pick the kids and she's like, yeah, I told you I'd tell Papa. And the kid is apologizing, like, yo, please, please. So we sit her down and we're trying to explain, you know why you did this, so you know what the punishment has to be. Right? Because I believe in keeping a steady standard of discipline. Right? Know what the steady standard of discipline is. Again, I agree with you there partially. You agree with me partially.
Yeah.
So we can move on from there.
Let me just share my opinion about everything you guys have said. And I feel it's very different for a single mom, where there's no father to instill the discipline. So it's just you. I think I've ever mentioned this on the podcast, that even my children feel and they know their mom is strict. But believe it or not, I rarely beat them up. Like, I'm not the person who would say, I'll beat you. I'll tell you, whatever you've done is wrong. You need to correct that. Or do you know what you're doing? You know, as in, just ask yourself, what exactly have you done? Then I'm like, you've made a mistake. And they'll be like, yes. I'm like, then correct it. And then I like what you've said about the look that mothers give you. I think for my children, that look scares them more. So we'd probably be somewhere seated and they do something. I'm with a guest probably, right? So they do something, I'll just look at them and they will clean up fast. No one has told them it's a mistake, or they'll be like, sorry, right? But the thing is, I don't believe I need to take you and spank you, or use as in just discipline you properly. I do it once in a while, and it has to be something very big. And this means, were you outside playing and did you harm any child? When you guys are playing in the house, did you hurt someone else? Because the thing is, I always tell them, you don't just come out from nowhere and hurt someone. Because if you're both playing, then you got hurt, it means you got hurt while playing. Yeah. But by the time you're picking something to hit someone, you did it. That I will definitely discipline you. So those are the things that probably discipline them. And even my son keeps on saying, oh, we've actually gone like 2 months, you haven't. I'm like, because you've been a good boy, right? I can't just come from nowhere and discipline you. So we have conversations, because one thing I noticed, I need them to respect people. And they also need to have respect for themselves and for each other. And I always tell my sons, here's the thing. You have one sister. In my presence, in my absence, you always need to protect her and protect each other. Because I know she will protect you guys. That's one. Number 2, even when you're growing up, I keep on telling my firstborn, you should not buy something else for another woman if your sister also needs it. That's guaranteed, because I also believe whatever you train them right now, they will grow up into it, and they will conform to it as well. Because it's not about as in hitting, or whatever discipline we give them. But at the end of the day, it's what have you instilled that they can grow up knowing. It's the same thing as in right now you have your parents somewhere. They're not always with you. You're 30s and above? They're not always with you, but you know what is right, what is wrong. So that's, I think when it comes to discipline, it varies from one parent to another. But by the end of the day, these kids are also humans. And you're talking about our generation. this generation is very delicate, to be very honest. So your ways of discipline and our single mother's way of discipline probably is going to be different. And I think there's some who actually punish the kids. But I think by the end of the day, we're really
You
trying our
realize,
best to do that.
I like what you mentioned about the last time you disciplined your kids. I haven't disciplined my kids in about a year yet, 2 years.
Yeah.
I don't need to because they know, like, the reason why I do the whole corporal punishment is that is the final deterrent, right? I don't need to do that if you still remember how painful it was. You still remember, like, I don't want to have to deal with that. I don't need to. Also, what you were saying about, well, I might not necessarily agree that raising your child to think, if my sister needs it, I won't get it for another woman. Because ultimately, you get married, you leave your family, you cleave
No,
from your
that's
family,
different.
start a new family. No, like, I'm just saying, like, eventually, you'll grow into that, right?
Yeah.
I believe something very, very simple. I usually tell my daughter, she's younger than my son. My son is autistic, right? I need to be very careful about, it's called parentification, right? I'm not trying to make you into your brother's parent. I'm just trying to make you be, in all honesty, the other pair of eyes to see what is happening around your brother, enough for you to report back to us without it being you minding his welfare. Like, I don't know how to explain this, but it's in the sense that you're not his parent. You're telling us as his sister because you're concerned. I think I've said the story before on the podcast where we took our child to a school, piece of shit garbage school in Ngatia, where what they did was they took our child, our son, autistic as he may be, promised us that they had an integrated system, refused to take care of him. He used to just walk around the school, wasting his time, wasting our money, to the point where he hurt himself. And it was not until the sister came back and told us, yo, something is not right in this school because I just see Kadari walking around. He got hurt because no one is taking care of him, right? That is the sort of system that their mother and I are trying to build. You get? Discipline is you take care of each other, we take care of you. I will only step in, like you said, when I feel you are a threat to yourself and, as you said, to others. Outside of that, look, your mother's job is to coddle you. My job is to introduce you to the world safely. So sometimes you guys will do some things and there will be repercussions. You will deal with those repercussions, right? And we do have these conversations, even though right now they are still way too young to fully understand. But the reason we have these conversations, I want that when they are finally old enough, it clicks.
Okay.
Yeah?
Just to circle back to what Sheila was saying, we have different ways of actually bringing out that discipline in kids. And for me, I would look at it in terms of giving the children, including the girls, a more creative or showing them that you can actually make decisions, but in a calculated kind of a strategic way. What does that mean? Personally, I am open to fighting your way out. Because to be very honest, at some point, this world is unfair to everyone. So if you show them that they can, if they fight back, I will punish you, then you introduce a sense of fear. So what it is I do, and I actively do it, is I tell them, fight back. Because if you're able to fight back and then now use your discretion in terms of understanding on what it is or the limits, then you'll be able to be even a better person. And to be very honest, not everyone gets a chance from a parent to tell you how to do things. Sometimes some people, you'll actually find them out there in life through School of Hard Knocks. So if you have the privilege of a parent who tells you, if someone throws a punch, you do not yield. You actually fight back. You actually fight back for what is rightfully yours. And this helps you, especially even as women, in terms of your career. That is why you will find, sorry to say, and I hope I'm not being very subjective, that there are fewer women in terms of even being CEOs. for the simple reason that they were not taught how to fight back. They were taught to actually, now you are a woman, you need to accept, you need to agree. No. You need to show them that if it is yours rightfully, take it at whatever cost it is.
Yeah, the whole CEO conversation is entirely different because that is, even science has shown, it's down to who men are versus who women are in terms of disagreeableness, in terms of interest, because you'll find women are interested in people, men are interested in things, men are interested in building something, women are interested in building relationships.
Yes, which is what I was saying in terms of emotions versus logic, which is actually very true. But if you actually showed your girl that she can fight back,
I will maintain shut up.
Yes.
I don't necessarily agree with that, but ultimately, I'll maintain shut up. That's a conversation for another day.
Yeah,
because when we look at, I won't shut up. When we look at a country that is truly egalitarian, like what? Pick one. Finland, pick one. Sweden, pick one. The other one's Norway, the Scandinavian countries. You will find that when women are given truly equal footing as with the men, they will almost invariably go towards what is catering towards relationships and people. So it's not really necessarily about teaching your daughter like, you need to fight back. I would say there's nothing wrong with teaching your daughter that she needs to fight back, but at the same time, sometimes someone's temperament is just
I think you've
chill.
mixed two things here. There is the issue for fighting for what is rightfully yours without being afraid of what will happen because it's rightfully yours, and there's the issue of leadership. So naturally, women are not supposed to, and this is from experience, and I don't know if it's factual, but I can put it out there. Women in leadership will never be the same as a man in leadership. A man is supposed to be a leader. But fighting for what is rightfully yours and being able to defend it is completely different from leadership. For example, I can give you an example. If I could give you an example where we have a situation where you've been bullied out there and someone wants to maybe get into in front of you on the line, that is not necessarily leadership. So what we are discussing right now, like what you said about the different countries like Finland, that is leadership, which is a different conversation. Vis-a-vis you empowering your girl for her to know that, hey, I can say no. I can actually stand up and tell this person that up to there. So those are two different things which we need to
I agree.
bring out very clearly.
Take that back.
For the sake of the audience in terms of understanding.
Basically, be comfortable saying no.
Exactly.
Be comfortable setting your boundaries.
Exactly. And the repercussions that you make, as long as they're justified, then they are right. And they're right.
Now, let me ask you,
Yes.
can you do that if you don't have money? Because this is a conversation I usually have with my homies. Where I usually tell my homies, I know I'm pushing you. This is why I usually tell my homies, especially my gym bros, because they have daughters. And we usually talk about this. And some of the things that we usually tell each other is, some of the things, I guess, are, but what we tell each other is, make sure you earn enough money that your daughter knows she's empowered to say no. We can lie to each other and tell each other that regardless of where you go in this world, a woman saying no will be respected. But we know that's not true. If you have enough money, your daughter knows, even when it gets to a point where, like, even when it comes to a job, I used to work at a, don't worry, I'm seeing you tensing up, I won't say names. I used to work at a place where the bosses actively used to hunt for interns. You getting? And some of them would acquiesce because they know if I say no, what am I going back to?
You don't have a job.
Yeah, what am I going back to? So my gym bros and I usually tell each other like, yo, msee, akisho kona do. Your daughter's no depends on you having do. Do you agree?
Sorry, just before Sheila goes, before Sheila goes, I think what you're referring to, Jim, is, and it's a fact, poverty indignifies very many situations.
Yay!
And by
I love how poetic you are, by the way.
by indignifying, we mean sometimes it is through sexualizing what it is that you do.
Largely, it is when you're dealing with women.
Yes, and that is propagated by men who feel they can get their way. And this is also brought about by someone or a lady or a girl who you've brought up as a daughter, who's not mentally empowered to know that I can tell them I'm going home.
Yeah.
And now, those are some of the things I was saying that this new generation is bringing in, that we need to understand from where we are. For example, the kind of people that we find even in terms of work we do is someone who they want to get in at 10 o'clock and leave by 2 and get paid twice as much as someone who does 3 times their work. So those are some of the challenges that we need to understand and balance very carefully, because it's a very sensitive issue. How much is empowering? Where should you say no? What should you walk away from? Also, which you've just said in terms of building their confidence, they need to know that this all is unfair. There are people who will want you to, if you're not going to accept, then you need to work twice as much. Are you ready for that?
But they also need to know, I can turn you down and go back to my father and have enough room for me to say, Niaje, let me figure out what's happening. Let me then move forward.
Exactly.
You're getting?
Yes.
Because some of us came from backgrounds where
you cannot go back home.
Some of us, like I was fortunate, but I have homies who came from backgrounds where you had to slog through absolute hell, right? And what you've described, especially for boys, is usually down to, you have sons, they will experience this, where it's down to legit, your boss is going to use you, and he will break your back if he's given the chance, right? He'll break your son's back and he will try to sleep with your daughter, because that is just how the world rolls. That is just how the world rolls. So what I was saying was, you do need to have the money for your daughter to know, I can go back home, recalibrate, and be comfortable. Because where guys are caught, from my experience, I worked at a shithole company. You know yourselves. I don't know how to say you. Where I saw people who, the last hurdle before you graduate is what? Internship. And I saw shories just get put through the ringer. And I got a very bad reputation for protecting or trying to protect shories from being put through that ringer, because I knew, like, this is 4th year, second semester, like the last semester before you graduate. I saw that happening. So I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that.
Sorry, yes, Sheila.
I need to. So when you say you have to, I don't think, okay, partly. There's that bit of you need to have the money before you can come from a point of you have it. Now you can actually say no. I think if we really want to change the narrative, we need to start now when they're very young. Because I think whether I'm living in, and right now we have people who speak up, even in the slums, right? And it's because you need to start now. Because if I talk about my daughter, I allow her, don't talk back, but do it respectfully. Like if you're even correcting your brother, or if I've done something wrong, she can come and tell me, but do it respectfully, right? And the thing is, I just need you to speak up. And that's the other thing. When you have children, you'll notice one can speak up, one cannot. And it's very much okay. Because probably he has a way of doing how he wants to do it, and be like probably my daughter, who can really speak up, like she doesn't even care. And half the time I think she reflects me, because there are times I'd hold back, and then there are times I'd be like, by the way, I don't care what you think about what I'm going to say it. I'm still going to say it, because I need to create a boundary around me and who I am, for you to understand what I want and what I do not want you to do. Right. So I'm just thinking it has to start at a very tender age with the girls. whether you have money, you don't have money, if you start it when they're very young, they grow up in it. So it's not really about, I don't think it's, yes, the money is a plus, but you'd still want your daughter to speak up. Because these things are happening whether in the slums, in town, like you can find them anywhere, in work spaces, you can even find them amongst their friends. Like your friends are also the first people who would really hurt you. Because before you even find someone to love you, you would have friends who might be the reason why you don't even want to have friends anymore. So how are you able to protect yourself in such a space if you're not able to speak up about what you want or what you don't want?
I agree with
Yeah.
that, actually.
I think my insight on the discussion you're actually currently having is we could be seen as putting the blame on the girl, but to be very honest, the problem originates, or the core of the issue at hand is the quality of men. The quality of men comes from how you raise them as a boy. How you raise them as a boy then now dictates how they treat the women, which are the girls that we're talking about today in today's episode. So what does that mean? If you show your boys that there is value in a human being in terms of what they do over and above their sexuality, over and above this and that, then there will be some form of or some semblance of balance in terms of how they actually treat those people when someone needs a job. So a lot of this goes back to what it is that you were saying in terms of the father figure, especially in bringing up boys, which I think is a conversation that we need to have. How are we bringing up these boys to be able to understand what their responsibilities are, how they relate to women in their lives, how they are able to understand that these people think maybe a little bit differently in terms of how we are hardwired, in terms of how we do our things as men and how they do their things as women. Because would it, if I could throw that back to you guys, would that be the same situation if a guy who's desperate for a job came to look for work from a boss who's a man? Maybe not. The boss will actually look at the value that guy brings as a guy. So then the problem is not the women and how they're able to, or the girls and how they're able to respond to certain situations in life. It's how we've structured and taught the society that it's right for a man to act in a certain type of way. I think, and at the end of the day, it's about nature, and there's a certain degree of conforming to what you're supposed to do. But if we teach the boys from when they're young that being strong does not necessarily mean you taking advantage of someone who cannot be able to defend themselves, of someone who cannot be able to repay you in any way, then they'll start looking at things differently, which is usually a situation where you cannot say this is where it will start and this is where it ends. But I feel the issue at hand is the quality of men that we have, which now even takes me back a little bit further in terms of what you were saying. We've delegated our roles to women.
You know, that is it's called, that line of philosophy is actually called TradCon, traditional conservative.
Yeah.
And why I don't agree with traditional conservative is that it absolves women of responsibility. Now, my idea of how I want to raise my daughter, I want to raise my daughter to fully understand the world is not black and white. The world is actually, large areas are black or white. Very few areas are gray. In this regard, what I was talking about when I was saying I have to have enough guap is I need my daughter to know you can walk away from any situation and still be okay. Even after you are employed and you've been working there for 10 years, you can walk away and still be okay. Why? Because there is a foundation for you. Yeah. I operate from not traditional conservative, but libertarian values. What do I mean? You and I agree on a lot. We actually agree on a lot. What we do not agree on is, look, there are certain people for whom that is the only way for them to make anything of themselves. There are people for whom, and it's, believe it or not, vast majority. That's why we say, do not assume malice, assume incompetence. Because the vast majority are truly incompetent. And for them, all they will ever be able to offer is themselves physically. Right? So I want to teach my daughter, that is the reality. Learn how to navigate this. when you need to recalibrate, there will always be a banker for you to fall back on.
Yeah.
Right? If I begin to say, for example, I teach my son, or the sons I'll have with my wife, because my wife has promised me 10 sons. If I tell my son, my sons, Nyaje, you need to be very, very careful, because how you treat women will make some sort of societal imbalance. I am inconveniencing my son because they will never learn how to treat the women who genuinely, that is all they offer. It is not on my sons to correct the world. It is on my sons to handle themselves. Homie, Ndugu, you're my son. What does that mean? I've given you every possible advantage I can. You should not have to put a woman in an uncomfortable situation. Right? Right? Okay. What about if the next man does it? That is his problem. That is his problem. It's not about your sister. It's not about your daughter. It's, bro, have the pride of knowing I have given you every possible advantage. You don't have to do it. Let your sister have every possible pride in knowing I gave her the advantage where she doesn't have to be that woman. It's not my job to heal the world. It's my job to raise balanced children. That is all.
Good. I guess parents, you've had it. It has nothing to do with the girl. It has everything to do with the parents and raising the boys. So let's do that. So before we wrap up, I'd love to hear from both of you. What is that one thing you've learned from your daughters? And if there's one thing you would tell your daughter, what would that be? We'll start with Joe.
One thing that is very clear and ultimate in terms of how I see it from my daughters is something called tolerance. So they've taught me a value, or I can call it a virtue, of tolerance, being able to accommodate different situations, be it situations that are not favorable at the moment as I see them in my eyes, and it always turns out to be something better. Also, the other thing I've learned is that being kind actually prevails any situation. Be kind. You do not know what people are going through. Observe, listen, be kind, think about it. And then from there, you're able to move forward. What I'll tell the girls out there, or the parents out there,
To your daughter.
to my daughters is, and this is something that I actually live by. So I think with the many years I've been on this, I've learned some things as the days go by. Not everything deserves an answer or an immediate answer there and then.
Yeah.
Take your time if you need to. Think about it. Sleep over it. If you still have the same intuition, or if you still have the same or a different answer, the next time you think about or you want to act on it, that will be the right thing to do. Not everything deserves an answer there and then. Yeah, that's what I would want to tell my daughters now and maybe in the future.
Cool.
Yeah.
Mommy, please don't use my brain. You are blessed with a very intelligent mother. Please be your mother's child. Please. I'm impulsive. I have a lot of flaws. You seem to be taking after me. Please, for the love of God, please take the time to actually reflect on what Mama's given you.
What have you learned from her?
Oh, that was my message to her. What have I learned to her? Or what have I learned from her? I have learned I need to watch what I do, what I say. They watch everything. And sometimes I'm not the best role model. How often is between us, but yeah, I have learned watch what I do, watch what I say. I have also learned I need to learn your friends' names because I'm not the best at dealing with human beings. Please adopt your mother's brain, for the love of God. Please.
Okay. Please. Thanks, Jim. You've really insisted on that. I'll just finish up by saying this to all girls, young girls. You can be anything you want to be. You just need to put your trust in yourself and in God. Thank you very much. Please like, share,
And
subscribe.
subscribe.
And thank you for listening in.
Use your mother's brain.
Bye.